Narcissists become really hurt when they have strong expectations about something and those expectations don't come into fruition. And usually, this is in the context of relationships with their supply, where narcissists don't typically get into relationships with people, or they don't typically form close bonds with people unless they're confident they can find themselves in a power position over that person, that they can get the person to submit to them in the ways they need. So the narcissist they go through this whole campaign of A, finding the right person, B, reading the person to understand what makes them tick well enough, including their past traumas and hidden desires and all that. And then C, narcissists go about doing and saying things to both make the person dependent on them and also to devalue the person, so the person becomes too weak to leave the narcissist, to make it on their own. And ultimately, the person believes that they can never do any better than the narcissist. So the narcissist, once they've been in a relationship with somebody for a while, something that they consider to be meaningful, they have the expectation that that person has submitted to them, that that person won't pull off any surprise moves, that that person won't injure them in a way that they're so careful not to be injured. But here's the thing. Even if the narcissist finds the perfect target, someone who cares about them, is compassionate, devotes their life, sacrifices, eventually the narcissist starts to take all that for granted. And they devalue the person, not just through actions, but also in their own mind. And they reach that point where they behave as if they almost don't need that person in their life anymore. And they probably believe it. So it's so common with narcissistic relationships where it's almost as if the narcissist starts to bluff, because the narcissist basically says to the other person, through words, actions, and behaviors and everything, that they don't matter, that the narcissist could have an equally fulfilling life without the person in it. And for a long time, the person would believe it. But here's the thing. Narcissists are always kind of pressing the person's button. They're always bluffing. It's when the person calls the narcissist bluff. That's where things go very south for the narcissist. When they call the bluff. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is, when the narcissist does something and the person says, well, fine, if it's going to be like this, then maybe you can, live your life without me. Or if it's going to be like this, then I can see you don't need me in your life, so on. And the person basically insinuates that they'll leave the narcissist and won't come back. And the narcissist is kind of like okay with that. When the person actually picks up their things and leaves because they're being so heavily devalued constantly, or maybe the narcissist discards the person and the person simply accepts it. They're calling the narcissist bluff because they are basically saying, fine, if you're demonstrating that you don't need life with me and that you're equally good without me, well, then that's the life you're going to live. I'm out. And the person sticks to it. The person doesn't want to come back. That's the biggest injury the narcissist can suffer, because it injures them on so many levels. First of all, it suddenly shows to the narcissist, okay, I didn't have the control over this person that I thought I had. Otherwise, they never would have left me. B, oh my God, very soon they start to realize that they've lost an important source of supply. And all of a sudden, the deficiency of the supply, which that person once offered, becomes more evident after every passing day. The narcissist needs it more and more, but they're not getting it anymore. And also C, the narcissist, the fact that they're cocky, overconfident, all of that starts to show itself. The narcissist was wrong. They misjudged the situation. Their grandiosity starts to have holes poked into that. It's not a great feeling. It invalidates them. So all of a sudden you have the situation where the narcissist they're not getting the supply they need. They're not getting validated the way they need. This person just showed to them that they don't have the control that they so badly want. Even the person who left them, who probably, had codependent traits, had certain wounds from childhood that would have made them susceptible to narcissists. Despite all that, the person still left them. Just basically shows to the narcissist that, there's no guarantee they can keep people around. And it probably took them a lot of work to get this person from the outset. And it might be a lot of work for them to get somebody else. So that's what narcissists really hate, and what narcissists try to avoid at all costs are experiencing reality checks. Because they try to flee from reality. They try to escape reality their whole lives. Otherwise, they feel vulnerable, small. And when somebody gives them a reality check, when somebody calls their bluff and leaves, that's the worst thing you can do to the narcissist, because they're not even really doing anything. Sometimes the worst thing you can do to somebody is really nothing at all. You're just absent. A lot of people like to think, yeah, if you start smearing their name, doing this, doing that, the narcissist, it would injure them, upset them. Well, I have two comments on that. On the first hand, yeah, if you're smearing somebody's name, maybe it's a daughter, you're saying how bad your father is, they didn't raise you well, they're selfish, blah, blah, blah. You could be smearing them on social media, or it could be an ex-partner, you're saying how manipulative, abusive they were, etc. Of course, that kind of thing goes down very negatively for the narcissist, but at the same time, they get a sense of validation from that negative smearing because it proves to them that they still have an influence over the person, that they still live in the person's head rent-free. So if you smear the narcissist, there's two things that happen. On the one hand, yeah, it can hurt the narcissist because they don't like their name being tainted, but B, it shows them that they still kind of control the person's emotions. Otherwise, the person wouldn't be smearing them. But when it comes to this kind of calling their bluff and just going absent, there's nothing the narcissist gains from that. It is purely negative. It is purely negative when you just don't care enough about them, you just leave. So that's the worst thing you can do to the narcissist, within reason. I mean, I'm not saying, oh yeah, go out and start blowing things up. No, I mean, within any reasonable course of human interactions, the worst thing you can do to a narcissist is just call their bluff and leave them. Because when things don't pan out the way the narcissist expected, when their ego gets punctured, their grandiosity gets punctured, they become invalidated, they lose their confidence, everything. That's the worst position, because now they have to pick themselves back up, and they need to find a replacement supply who will supply them with everything that you did. They're just in this emotional mess, this really chaotic place. Anyway, I hope you found that helpful. And if you are with a narcissist, just find your way to escape. And if you have been with one and you recently did escape, just do whatever it takes to keep that distance. And while you're watching videos around how the narcissist feels, you really shouldn't care too much about that. But it just shows the importance of staying away and not supplying them. Okay, thanks for watching.